Fundación Educacional Oportunidad, and the University of La Serena. I thank you all for connecting with us today. As you join us, please tell us in the chat where you're connecting from. We invite you to be an active part of the seminar by posting on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram using the hashtag Expanding Opportunities. We want to see you and hear from you. You are welcome to share your selfies, comment on the presentations, highlight key ideas, and please leave us your suggestions for future seminars. We see that some of you have shared where you're from. We have people connected from Puerto Natales, Santiago, Angol, Tocopilla, Temuco, Maule, Tiletico, Pichilemu, Calama, Valle del Elqui, Región de O'Higgins, and some people from other places in the world. We have a person from Malta as well. So everybody, welcomed to this event. This event is being transmitted by Zoom and is also streaming live on Facebook in the account of Fundación Educacional Oportunidad. If you are in our streaming platform, please leave all your questions in the questions section you will find at the right of the screen. For comments, use the chat option. For those of you joining us on Facebook, you can leave your questions there. We will have a round of questions after the presentation. To officially start the seminar, I am pleased to present a wonderful guest, Joaquín Triandafilide, the director of the Asociación Chilena de Neuroaprendizaje and local partner of the Dana Foundation. Joaquín has been a teacher for many years. He holds various degrees in pedagogy, distance education, applied linguistics, and neuroscience. He is currently in the doctoral program in disability studies in the Favoloro University, Argentina. His workshop, Facing Post-Pandemic Education, will invite us to be assertive and anticipate possible challenges we may face in education in the upcoming months. So, without further ado, please welcome Joaquín Triandafilide.
Thank you, Paz. Thank you for your generous presentation, and thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to know that I'll be connecting with teachers all around the country and also Latin America and other parts of the world. So I'm really happy to be here with you today. Well, so facing post-pandemic education, this is the moment I started preparing to be with you today. I said I was wondering what can I present to teachers that might be of interest and that might add value to them. So I will start first by presenting some facts, and then from there I will then get into the specifics of the presentation. Okay. But overall, this is based on brain-friendly strategies I would like to present to you today. Let's get started by playing a little game. We teachers need this, move from time to time. And I was wondering, okay, this might be good for those of you who might be sitting hours in front of a screen and from time to time need some idea, some extra idea for an icebreaker. So this is what you have to do. If you look at the numbers I'm showing on the screen, and then you see the two lines crossing, yes, below, it's showing that dot on the screen in the drawing is showing in what direction you should be moving your shoulders as you read the number, okay? So for example, for 0, we'll do this. Move forward to the left, okay? For 1, we should move backwards to the left. Yes, I hope my instructions were clear. And now from there, I'd like to invite you to do this of 3. Let's do it all together. So look at your screen, sit comfortably and start, twisting your shoulders as we read the numbers together. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Let's go together. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It wasn't that hard, right? Okay, bear this in mind, bear the instructions in mind. I'm not giving instructions again. We'll do this activity like right about after half the presentation has been through, okay? So as I said before, two main questions I would like to answer today. Number one, how may the post-pandemic effect impact the students and teachers' brains in our classrooms? That's the first general question we want to approach. And the second one, what are some strategies we can implement in our lives so as to lower the impact of this post-pandemic effect? Okay, so this is, notice I've highlighted and underlined those three words. The strategies I want to share today are related to your lives more than the students, okay? And there are a number of reasons for that. So let's move on from here. I would like to say in the first place that to pass a few minutes ago, this presentation is part of a trilogy, yeah, which is kind of fashionable these days. So back in July, I had the opportunity to present the first part of the trilogy called Effective Online Teaching, which was also brain-friendly strategies. I did that with Cambridge University Press for Latin America. Today, I'm presenting you with post-pandemic effect and strategies based on how friendly we can become to the brain, okay? The work I'm presenting to you today has been taken from a programa de acompañamiento y sensibilización Retorno Seguro that the Asociación Chilena de Neuroaprendizaje is right now delivering in many schools around the country. As you may know, in Chile, we are going into transition. So there are many schools, many families that kind of dream and push to go back to the classroom, to the physical classroom. So we've prepared some of these advice for teachers and people working with the kids. Now, part 3 of this trilogy will be presented to teachers in Chile and Latin America on November the 13th and 14th as part of the brain-based teaching of English first LATAM conference. Okay, so if you're interested to get information about that, you can easily send a direct message to Comunidad Neuroeducas, which is on Instagram. So a few ideas about note-taking for today. If you're not familiar with this, I'd like to introduce what we call the B note-taking technique. What is this about? Well, I suggest to think of a bee. If you can just take a sheet of paper now and just kind of in the middle draw a bee, okay, with 6 legs to the sides. Okay, so as you take notes, yes, you will be completing information next to the legs B. On the one side, on the left side, you should put, or you should refer to the brain functions I'm going to be mentioning in this presentation. And then on the right side of the B, why not deciding on a strategy you choose as I present them, okay? So this is what we call the note-taking technique. And I'm going to show my own summary, my own B at the end of the presentation to compare with yours, all right? So you might want to draw a line next to each of the legs, at the end of the legs, so you can write the keywords that will help you. And then when you look at this again, a week from now or a month from now, you can easily remember, oh, these were the key terms Joaquín presented, and I'm gonna get them with me, some of them, the ones that you consider to be important for you, okay? All right, from here, I'd like to introduce you to 3 facts about the human brain, which are important to remember. Fact number 1, no matter the way you are teaching these days, whether synchronous or asynchronous type of teaching, whether you are teaching adults, teens, or young learners, teachers around the world have become the frontliners in terms of emotional health, mental health. Okay, so this is fact number one, and that's why I chose this topic for today. Okay, fact number two, it's been proved in a tremendous number of research that the human brain, okay, and the basis of the human brain, the basis of the human brain capacity is apparently based on the quality of the emotions of that brain. Okay, for many years it's been argued or it's been debated whether we are a species that originally was a thinking species and then got into feeling, learning how to feel. And then the other tendency is to think, oh, we are a feeling species, a feeling brain that has learned how to think. Well, most of the evidence, most of scientists today go for the second one. Apparently, feelings are number one. And then number two is reasoning and thinking. Okay? So that's important to remember. Fact number three, the human brain is a type of brain that is distinguishing from all other types of brains in nature for a number of characteristics that it has, and we're going to refer today to three of them. But we have to say that because of the pandemic, because of the quarantine condition we've been into around the entire world, all of these natural conditions are in a way diminished due to what I explained before, because the emotional facts, the emotional condition has been affected, okay? After we go through a traumatic situation, certain characteristics of our brain get harmed. And we teachers, as we go back or as we keep teaching, we know that some schools might not be going back to normal this year. We need to be aware of this harm being produced to the brains, okay? Okay, so from here, I would like to briefly introduce this concept about stress levels. What is the capacity of the human brain to take or to intake stress? And you will notice something interesting. A number of studies were conducted a few years ago, which finally directed researchers to this concept of the level of concern on the part of the learner, or the level of concern on the part of the worker, on the part of a teacher, okay? And apparently, there might be those circumstances in life that totally burn you out, okay? When there are high levels of anxiety that take you to a total breakdown. And this is what I call the red range. Nobody wants to be here. And some of us, some teachers, some families, some might have been through this during the pandemic. So we have to keep this in the loop, okay? Now, this is also interesting as the first one, and maybe less obvious. There's also what we call the green range. If a student or a teacher or any person, any brain is taken to what we call the green range, too little stress, under load, this transforms the person into a laid back, and he may end up being inactive in terms of performance, okay? And then we have two ranges in between. I'd like to briefly show you this one here, the orange one, which is too much stress. It's very similar to the burnout, but we're still not in burnout. This is what we call exhaustion, okay? Where would we want to be ideally with our students? Where should you be ideally as a person? Okay, this is the ideal area, the yellow area, optimum level of stress. okay? And of course, at one point you get into fatigue, but as you can see the drawing here, this is taking you up more than down, okay? Apparently the human brain is prepared to take some level of stress, some manageable level of stress, okay? So today what I want to do is introduce you to 3 characteristics in the human brain from the cognitive point of view, not the emotional point of view this time. I know Lucrecia Prat is going to do that masterfully in a few days from today. So I want to concentrate on the cognitive aspects, which I know is not typically dealt with, okay? So 3 aspects, 3 areas I want to tackle, and from there I'll introduce you to 2 techniques into each. Hopefully we have the time to mention 2 techniques for each. Okay, so this is what we should be aiming at, the yellow optimum stress level. Okay, and I'm thinking of you as a person, okay, as a professional, not the students this time. So don't think of, okay, why is he giving us the idea or the suggestion for the classroom? Not this time, all right? I'm thinking of you. And so if we think of the brain as a marvelous masterpiece, you know, the human brain as the most sophisticated machinery, most complex machinery, we're having new information coming out about the brain every day. We want to identify what we call executive functioning skills, a number of capacities, a number of abilities that are by default part of our brain, but that depending on how we motivate, how we stimulate that brain and the environment surrounding it, the way it may evolve. Particularly speaking, today I want to refer to 3 of these, okay? By the way, the methodology, the approach, and the strategies presented, I'm introducing them to you as presented by PhD Sandra Bond Chapman from Center for Brain Health, University of Texas in Dallas, okay? Not something that I want to take credit for. And the 3 areas I want to focus on are strategic attention. Number 2, integrated reasoning. And number 3, innovation. And I wish I had the time to ask all of you, which of these 3 do you feel are the most affected in this time of pandemic, of extreme concern? And I know many of you will say, yeah, I tend to be a little bit distracted. It's hard for me to concentrate on a task. It's even harder to concentrate for specific longer times. Okay, so I would like to go through these 3 from a simple perspective. I'll define them and then try to give you a couple of suggestions on how to tackle it in your daily lives. Okay, let's then go for what we call strategic attention. Okay, trying to remember as many details as you can about an experience in your day may sometimes go against this mental feature. Okay, I think we all know what attention is. Attention is the mental capacity of the brain to put priority on one of many stimuli coming from the outside or from the inside. Every time you give priority to one stimulus, then it's because your brain decides to pay attention to that. Okay, now notice the first characteristic I'm sharing here is trying to remember many details sometimes could harm this strategic attention. Okay, a strategic brain is one that filters information and then classifies all that comes in. Okay, very interesting to know that we as human beings train ourselves in order to make our brains more strategic and then make our attention more strategic. Okay, filtering information. one more important element: when you have a healthy strategic brain, you pay attention to the most relevant information and filter out what is not relevant. So a few questions I might ask myself today are: where are you putting your main energy today? What are your main priorities? That is where your attention should be. Okay. Now, as I said before, the present circumstances may be naturally harming this strategic attention. So I want to share with you 2 strategies that may help you protect attention capacity. Oh yes, Joaquin, I get very distracted. I still have many lessons to teach. Okay, a couple of things we could do according to researchers. Okay, that's what we want to get. Notice something interesting. Your brain is not designed to become a massive information processor. Oh, but someone told me that I'm a multitasker by nature. Well, that's a myth, let me tell you. The way the brain is designed, the way attention operates, shows us there is plenty of proof that our brain is not designed to become a massive information processor. That means a brain that learns how to select information and decide what information that brain wants to retain, and then decides based on priorities, planned priorities, is a more strategic brain. Okay, this is an interesting overview and not something that is presented to us every day. Okay, so on top of that, if that brain is sad, if that brain is stressed out, if you are kind of feeling this burnout, and in Chile, many brains are already wondering and thriving for September the 18th, long holidays. Well, there's a reason behind that, okay? For our friends in other countries, I should say that the national holiday in Chile is several days in a row, something I learned to love as I became also someone who lives in Chile, right? Okay, and so a couple of strategies I'd like to share. Okay, the first one is called brain power of 2, and the second one is called brain power of 1. I tried to put it in simple words so that by the end of the session you can have them at least one and say, hey, I'm going to start using this. Okay, so what does brain power of 2 go for? Okay, well, every day, this is the strategy. Every day, the suggestion is to identify, prioritize, and complete first your 2 major tasks. And this is what we're going to call your elephants. Okay? After that, you may pay attention to your smaller tasks. We call that your rabbits. So, question for you, my friend. Have you been chasing after rabbits or elephants in your daily errands, in your daily tasks? Joaquin, is it as simple as that? Yes, it is. It has to do with your personal planning. The moment you take your agenda, you write down the tasks for the day. But first, you need to decide what your elephants are, what your rabbits are. When you're hunting elephants, be careful not to get distracted by chasing after rabbits. See what I mean? Well, basically, you need to define what 2 or 3 activities are crucial for that day, that they may change the rest of your week. They may be affecting a personal relationship. They may be affecting your work environment. They may be affecting your plan for the rest of the semester. Those are your elephants. What are your rabbits? Well, small errands, details, things that you can still postpone and nothing will happen. So bear that in mind. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is what you could use tomorrow, even take 5 minutes aside and decide what are my 2 elephants for tomorrow and what are my rabbits. Rabbits will, jump in front of your face once and again, but elephants are quiet and silenced. But once think of an elephant getting into a store, into a house, into a garden, it may destroy an entire project. That's what we call brain power of 2. Okay, and now let's go for brain power of 1. Okay, what is brain power of 1? Work on just one task at a time. Okay, do your work in a sequential way. Your brain has not been designed for multitasking. This is something I said a few minutes ago. So one task at a time, and approach each task in a sequential way. First, then B, then C, etc., etc. I think it's a simple strategy, but we need to stick to it. Start blocking information that is not relevant and learn to select it consciously. This is something I usually do here at the Asociación. I usually tell my collaborators, hey, in the case of our secretary, I usually tell Carla, today you are not answering emails, please, during certain moments of the day, okay? Or this is something sometimes I personally do as well. So more and more often choose to work airplane mode and also promote it in people around you. And this is something I usually tell other colleagues. Do you have a boss? Do you have a coordinator that keeps calling you, keeps emailing you, keeps sending you WhatsApps? Well, I need to set a time for that because times of the day, I need quality time for my work. What do I call this? Airplane mode, okay? So we have brain power of 2, elephants and rabbits, and brain power of 1, airplane mode whenever necessary. So very simple strategies, but they can help you in a time like this, help you empower strategic attention. All right, so bear this in mind. Okay, from here, we want to get into area or functioning skill number 2, integrated reasoning. Integrated reasoning. Well, we all know that we have this capacity of the brain of thinking, okay? But this is the type of reasoning. I'm not speaking about all ways of thinking. I'm speaking of the type of reasoning that integrates new information with familiar information. The type of reasoning that makes you connect what you knew from before with new incoming information. It extracts key ideas from something new and integrates it in a context for everybody. Wow, I wish I had more people like that around me. You may be thinking like that right now. Okay, why? Because the person who does this is the person that will be integrating information, putting sometimes new information into simple words, and helping me to connect what is familiar with the unfamiliar. This is the thinking that resists routinary or traditional ways to do things. Have you lately been to a meeting that you get bored to death? Have you been teaching a class where you yourself get bored? Well, why does the brain start suffering? Because there's another brain who's conducting the meeting, who's suggesting an activity that is not integrating what we do in what we call integrated reasoning. Okay, so this is something crucial. This is something important to do in order to add value to the other person that is in front of me. Okay, I'm thinking of some of us who are parents, and then we need to talk to our children. We need to talk to our adolescents at home. What's the way you are tackling issues with them? Am I always using the same routinary language? Am I following the same patterns of behavior? So once and again, we fall within the same fight. it's a good time, I think, to rethink our relationships, rethink the language we choose, rethink the strategies you choose for solving specific conflicts. This skill requires different sources to combine information in one big idea. Okay, it's not that it comes by default in our brain. We should train it. Okay, and of course, once again, we need to suggest a couple of strategies in order to empower integrated reasoning in our lives, in our families. Okay, this is the mental power that can help you out of fake news, the ones that have been invading our homes these days. Okay, so this is interesting to develop with your own families. And once again, remember, this has to do with the emotional state or condition in which we are all today. So how to empower integrated reasoning? Strategy 1, zoom in. And strategy 2, zoom out. Okay, let's now elaborate on the two of them. So zoom in. Pay attention or start paying attention to specific information that, of course, you decided was relevant to that moment. Specific information such as dates, contents, and the situation around you. And I think this is not new. If I ask Chilean teachers, every time we watch the news or the announcements made by the Ministry of Health, right? When we need to try and understand the announcements and the counter announcements made by the government, nothing against it, but of course, these days, we really need our integrated reasoning working there, because a lot of information for our friends connecting from other countries. They should know that we have different cities in different health or pandemic scenarios going on. So we really need like certain codes to read the information and then integrate it into a big whole and make our decisions. You know what I mean. We need to use the information we get to support an idea or an approach. This is important too. We've seen a lot of people giving their opinion in the social networks, in the social media, without being informed properly first. So we teachers need to fulfill a special role there in modeling responsible, accountable behaviors. First get informed, then condense information, and then give an opinion. Become an expert also in real life when you need to stop doing this. Well, Joaquin, you're saying we should zoom in specific information, contents, and situations around us, but now you're saying we should know when to stop. Of course. Why is this like this? Because our brains have a limited capacity of attention, strategic attention. Of course, it becomes one integrated thing with integrated reasoning, okay? So we should know when to stop. Not necessarily all the information around us is important. It's important, of course, to identify individual pieces of your weekly puzzle to know how to put it all together, okay? And I just would like to share from Brendan Burchard in his material High Performance Planner. Something interesting here, something as simple as a planner might help you zoom in, okay? How about having this like viewing your day, the entire day of tomorrow, but at the same time, when you're putting in specific information, you can first decide on today's top 3 goals or priorities. And then tasks that absolutely must be done today. Things like this might help you zoom in your day and your week. And now let's get into number 2, which is zoom out. Okay, like a supplement to the previous one. What is zoom out? Well, never let trees prevent you from seeing the forest. I said first that getting details is important. Seeing the tree is important, but don't let the tree prevent you from seeing the forest, the entire scenario. Nowadays, especially in the middle of a crisis, we as a person, as a family, as a group leader in a school need to keep this in mind. This is a mental ability that allows you to elevate yourself and see the general picture from above, like a drone with a camera on it. Yes? Um, I remember after the crisis we had last year in Chile, if we all know that October last year we had this social crisis bursting out in our faces, and after that, in my neighborhood, where I live in Santiago de Chile, we had this argument about security, how to improve security in our neighborhood. It wasn't until we had a drone fly over the neighborhood and give us this, look at this picture, the form of the neighborhood where I live. Well, I spent several minutes today looking for this picture. It has a peculiar form, right? So it wasn't until we saw the picture from above that we were able to find the most integral type of solution to find security for our neighborhood. And this is the advantage that zooming out can give you in your life as well. Summarizing, synthesizing, pushing the button backwards, putting what happened during the day in 10 final minutes of solitude and reflection can help you conquer this natural skill. Okay, so for zoom out, also from High Performance Planner, I brought these couple of ideas, and I'm sure this I can share with you. I think this is going to be posted for you to have with you later. So together with my planner for the day, together with the specifics, how about every evening as of today, zooming in and then zooming out? Look at some of the examples we have here. Evening journal. Number one, a moment that I really appreciated today was, number two, a situation or task I handled well today was, three, something I realized or learned today was, four, I could have made today even better if I, number five, something that could have helped me feel more connected to others today would have been, number six, if I was my own high performance coach, I would tell myself this statement about today. So this is a way to zoom out in a more programmed establishment. All right. So far we've been going through two of the three executive functions I want to introduce you to today: strategic attention and focused reasoning or integrated reasoning. Okay. And okay, now let's go for twisted numbers again. How about going for twisted numbers again? I want to invite you once again to stretch ourselves a little bit. I hope we're doing right with time. We have one more to present. If Paz is there and she's saying yes. Okay, so we have the time to do this. Remember, just move your shoulders towards where the dot is within this coordinates. Okay, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Thank you very much. Okay, remember to do this in your own life. Okay, don't never take yourself too seriously. When I started doing activities like this in the past, I was like, man, should I do this? I'm more the academic type. But then I said, no way, I'm doing it. Never take yourself too seriously, especially if you teach other people. All right, let's get into number 3 and last for the day. Innovation. Wow, this is something the entire world appreciates today so much. If there is an ability, if there is a mental skill that is required today from us, is being innovative, okay? And this reminds me of what Howard Gardner defined by intelligence in the 80s. He said intelligence is a biopsychological potential to process information that can be activated in a local culture, okay, in a local cultural setting to solve problems or create products. Not any products, but products that are of value in a culture, okay, in a specific culture. Um, Very interesting, interesting definition, okay? A specific answer to a specific problem in a specific scenario. And I'm thinking right now, I'm thinking of all the issues that people in the north, people in the south, people in the center of this wonderful country have been going through. I'm thinking of Rica, in Antofagasta, are going through different circumstances as compared to those in Punta Arenas. By the way, a city that is in trouble these days with the quarantine, right? And then people in other countries like in Argentina or in Uruguay or Peru are going through different circumstances, okay? So being involved with the right level of concern helps us become innovative. Remember the yellow range that we established as the area in which my attitude needs to be. The classroom management, my family and personal life management needs to fall within this yellow range. Okay, so make intended efforts to fall in the yellow range of optimum stress level. Now, 2 strategies I want to share with you today to how to take care of innovation in our brains. Okay, because once again, the stress we've been going through, emotional trauma, etc., are diminishing our mental capacity in our frontal lobes. Okay, so number 1, brain power of a paradox. And number 2, brain power of the unknown. Interesting. Okay, so let's go for them. Specifically, brain power of a paradox. Well, this has to do, if you can see the meme I'm showing you right now in Spanish. Um, okay, it's basically, what is it basically showing? We are in the middle of a crisis and we come up with humor, and that's something I love about Chile. We come up with humor in memes all the time, to do some cathartic, in a way, behavior, okay? Because in the middle of the crisis, we still need to try and find some hope. Against all odds, showing you that things might end up being a disaster, innovation and mental flexibility become the fuel to move on. Believe it or not, whenever the human brain, the human species, finds itself in the middle of a paradox, we find energy to move on. Okay, so this is the strategy I want to briefly share with you. How about having a weekly life review? Okay, scoring yourself on a scale as the suggested material I'm presenting you with, scoring yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 in each of the areas below, with 5 being awesome. Okay, and why not write any notes in the bubbles or the space below about what is happening in that area, considering health, mental, emotional, partner, love, family, friends, your personal mission, your experiences, your own spirit, your finances, and your learning. Okay, so in a way, I'm also rescuing integrated reasoning, zoom in, zoom out, but now I'm saying in the middle of a paradox, take the time to evaluate yourself and then look at the lines below, goals and ideas for improving your life in any of these areas. The empowerment given by the paradox. Okay, and then we can add a few elements like this. Now, after you've reviewed your week that is finishing or your day that is finishing, events from your last week or from your day yesterday that were kind of a disaster. And now try to think of 4 different ways in which you could have done better or at least felt better. And this is what we call the brain power of a paradox, finding energy within the crisis. Okay, and now let's go to the second and last strategy or suggestion, which has to do with brain power of the unknown. The human brain is a natural novelty seeker. We have been designed to go and explore the world out there. This is incredible, but that's how we activate ourselves, by novelty things, okay, by the unknown. However, as we grow older, we tend to put our brain in remote mode. Have you found yourself during this quarantine like doing every day the same thing, following the same routine? I've seen some friends, some members in my family, even, losing their smile because there's no expectation about this afternoon or tomorrow happening something different. Okay, so this is important. Recovering the flavor, recovering the spirit of going for something unknown. As we stop feeding curiosity in our lives, this executive function, which is innovation, goes down and fades away. Now you may be thinking, well, Joaquin, I'm a teacher who's about to retire, or I've been working for many years. What can I expect in terms of something that surprises me? Well, let me tell you this. Science has proved, even though there might be many brains that, might tend to be sleepy in their own lives, this is something interesting. The attitude of falling in remote mode is a personal decision, not a biological need. There's nothing that can support the option of going for remote mode that has a biological explanation. Okay, it's always a personal decision. Okay, so I think this is, I want to show you now a strategy in relation to this. I'm not telling anybody anything new here. Who has learned in the middle of the crisis? Parents have. Who has learned in the middle of the crisis to reinvent? Teachers have. And also students have. Okay, so it's the entire educational community has had to reinvent themselves, okay, in the middle of this circumstances. So there's something new coming out of this, which is in the middle of the unknown, innovation springs up. Okay, it's incredible. It's incredible. So that's something good about what's going on. And I'd like to finish here by showing you again from the same author, from Brandon Burchard, this what we call today's message to myself. How about every morning trying to change to your mindset with things like this? Number one thing I can get excited about today is, two, if one word could describe the person I want to be today, then that word is, and why I chose it is, someone who needs me on my A game today is, a situation that might stress me out or trip me up today could be, and the way that my best self would deal with that is, Someone I could surprise with a note, gift, or sign of appreciation is, okay? So I will leave this for you here on the presentation. There's no time to read them all, but there's always an opportunity in the brain power of the unknown circumstances we're all going through these days. All right. So I think now I'm going back to my note taking. Let's see my B, and you might want to show me your B's, the way you wrote them down, or you wrote your concept map. So we have on the left the brain functions, and the right a strategy you chose. So you choose, okay? Strategic attention was the first functioning skill. The second functioning skill was integrated reasoning. And the third one, innovation. Three functioning skills that are part of our frontal lobes in our brains. They are there by default, but they need training and they need to be taken care of. We saw two strategies for strategic attention, brain power of 2, brain power of 1. I hope you chose one for your life for tomorrow. As far as integrated reasoning goes, we discussed about zooming in and zooming out. Which one will you choose? And about innovation, we talked about the brain power of a paradox, the brain power of the unknown. Oops, there's a typo there, okay? So I think this is it. This is the B I want to present to you, and I hope you have made your own B to go fly now. And a good thing I chose the B, which is a symbol of healthy nature, of, you know, being with our arms open to the rest, to the entire ecosystem where we belong. All right. I think it's time for questions, probably.
Yes, thank you very much, Joaquin, for your presentation. Very interesting. We've been having lots of comments in the chat, in the different streaming rooms. We have over 300 people connected. People arrived after I mentioned the places from Rapa Nui, Coyhaique, Valdivia, Nacimiento, Copiapó, Puerto Montt, and other countries as well, Barcelona, Gualeguaychú, and Santo Tomé Corrientes in Argentina, and the United States. So they all have very, very interesting questions and comments. For example, Vanessa said, when you mentioned chasing the rabbits, she said she's chasing the entire zoo with so many things to do, probably. Alejandra, sometimes there are too many elephants. And there's a question connected with that. Jimena asks, could chasing rabbits be a way of procrastination?
Okay. Yes, procrastination is what we call a pattern of behavior. We learn that by culture. Culturally, we learn it. So if someone discovers that she or he procrastinates, let's say systematically, they need to tackle it, you know, any habit that is not doing any good to us. I think procrastination on a systematic basis is more than a rabbit. It's an elephant that we need to kill.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you. Also, about what you shared, there are some questions about how we can apply this with students. For example, Fernanda asks, how is technology affecting students' brains regarding multitasking? And she mentions the use of smartphones, multiple tabs on screens, etc. And in that same line, Carolina says, well, first, great presentation. And should we apply these different actions you propose with our students to help them?
Well, definitely, yes. Once I become aware of how my own brain works, I can, in a more easily and natural way, you know, share it with other people, share it with my own kids, share it with my family, share it with my students. But I would say try to focus on your own first. I know we, professionally speaking, tend to project this into the students, but why am I suggesting, why did I want to focus today on the teacher's pass? Well, it was a conversation we had before the presentation, right? It's the teacher who we wanted to take care of today. And that's why. But of course, all brains work the same way. Students are also distracted. Students are also not knowing how to, stick to the responsibilities. Something I usually do here at home with my own kid. I have a 15-year-old boy. I sit next to his bed sometimes. I sit next to his desk, and we have conversation. And I go through my own struggles, and then I pass them on to them and to him and say, okay, I suggest to implement it this way or that way.
Definitely. Thank you very much. We have lots of questions too regarding burnout. Probably it's a very interesting topic for teachers nowadays because of the crisis we're living. And
Yes.
they ask, how can they move to the yellow space of optimum stress? Also, Vanessa asks, how do we move from the burnout area? And Lisette asks, can you give us suggestions to lower our stress level?
Well, I think the 6 strategies we shared today, Paz, are focusing in that direction. If I start putting brain power to 2, on the brain power, the brain power of 2, the brain power of 1, and there is one extra that I did not have the time to present. I kind of felt that it wasn't, I wouldn't have enough time. It's the brain power of 0. The brain power of 0 is staying silently for a couple of moments in your day. If you have a couple of techniques like yoga or mindfulness, in my case, it's gardening, or when I do the kitchen, I do singing, or I listen to the radio and I disconnect myself. This is what we call the brain power of 0. Try to identify where your own brain power of 0 is. And of course, when you have to sit down and attack your work, please develop this personal discipline of brain power of 2, brain power of 1, and then explain this to your collaborators, explain this to your bosses. If you're a coordinator, start working like this with your teachers. We can't do everything all the time. We are not designed for that.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting. Brain power of 0 then. I think we definitely need that these days. Here, well, Elvis asks, could you expand a little over the power of daily planners? And I also need to tell you that lots of our viewers are asking if you could share those planners that you showed.
Yeah, why not? They will be part of the presentation, right? So I will try to make them look as big as possible. I hope Brendan Butchman doesn't get mad at me because I'm sharing that stuff, but I think on the contrary, it will make many teachers go find the material. I've got his book with me here, High Performance Habits. I hope nobody gets mad at me showing, but I've already used his material. Why not show the cover of the book? And adopting a system like this in times like the ones we're going through right now, Bas, might help us out. Why? For extraordinary circumstances, we need new tools. For a lot of time, we've been talking about take care of emotions, which is fine. It's important to do it. But if we are cognitive reasoning brains, we need to apply new strategies on a cognitive basis. Okay? I don't know if I answered the question. Yeah, I can share the planners. I can share that. And a colleague was asking if I could elaborate on daily planners. A daily planners, what it makes is basically is help you establish a daily agreement with yourself. That is what planner is. When I write, the moment I write it down, I'm reviewing it mentally, I'm reorganizing myself, zoom in, zoom out, and I make a commitment. I make like a contract with myself. That's why we feel so bad at the end of the day when we realize, oops, I basically went through, 2 of the 10 points on it. But if those 2 are elephants, it won't be that much of a harm. The problem is when I get distracted with my rabbits.
Right. And as you said, sometimes writing things down really clears your head for the important tasks.
Yes, but something we need to remember, of course, we today we didn't have time to go through everything. The human brain, the human species, is the only brain that through verbal language can redesign itself. Isn't it wonderful? Through verbal language, we recondition ourselves. We reframe the way we think. We reorganize ourselves. Verbal language. When I put it in written, it's an extension of verbal language.
Great. And on that note, I have to say that's all the time we've got. I would like to thank you, Joaquín, for your presentation and also for the answers you just gave us. I'm sure they were very enlightening for those that asked. And if you have some final words you would like to share with the audience?
Yes, definitely. Well, number one, if anybody has further questions about the trilogy I presented, I said this is the second out of 3 parts in this trilogy. I can easily answer questions if you want to send me a direct message. Right now, I'm basically showing my slide again, where you can find Comunidad Neuroeducas, which is our Instagram account. And please don't forget something. I want to put it in the words of Carol Dweck, a great psychologist that's been working through types of mentality framework. And she said once, becoming is better than being. So don't be afraid to become someone different from what you were in the past. We are going to become someone different after this 100, 200 days of quarantine or pandemic. But don't be worried. Don't be afraid of becoming. Becoming is always better than simply being. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joaquín. I'm sure everything you shared has been very useful for all of the teachers, educators, pre-service teachers that have been joining us today. I'd like to thank all of our viewers for taking the time out of your busy lives to be with us today. You are welcome to continue participating in the seminar. Tomorrow we have Lucrecia Pratt's workshop, 10 tips towards well-being and brain empowerment during quarantine. Please visit our website, expanding.fundacionoportunidad.cl, and check the posters so that you can also join us on the poster sessions on Thursday. And remember to post on social media with the hashtag expanding opportunities. We want to see you and hear from you. Thank you very much. Goodbye and see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.